Hope you're all having a great Labor Day weekend coming your way on today's Philadelphia Eagles. Now the Birds making two signings official this morning after they got off the practice field. We have some Nolan Smith injury news and a Haason Reddick injury update as well. Before we take a look at all of that and dissect it, I'm going to challenge the Bird Gang out there. Can we get the 50,000 subscribers before Sunday, week 1, the season opener on the road against the New England Patriots? We're going to be doing a watch party for that game, but can we celebrate 50,000 subs during that watch party? As you can see here, 370 people remaining to get to that milestone. And if you want Eagles shows, Eagles content, Eagles updates every single day, this is your go-to spot here on YouTube. Lock us in and hit that subscribe button, because once we get to 50K, we're going to party right here on the show. So let's start off with Philadelphia making a couple of roster moves official, bringing one player back to the practice squad and signing another player with some pedigree who used to play for a division rival. Philadelphia announcing these two roster moves this morning that they have signed linebacker Nicholas Morrow, that's the aforementioned familiar name that I was alluding to, and offensive lineman Tyre Phillips to the practice squad. The corresponding roster moves for Howie Roseman and company, releasing cornerback Tiawan Mullen as well as linebacker Kyron Johnson. For Nicholas Morrow, didn't crack the initial 53-man roster. He is eligible, though, to get called up for week 1 against the Patriots if the Eagles need some security at that backup off-ball linebacker spot. For Morrow, spent training camp in the preseason with this team after signing a 1-year contract with the Birds in NFL free agency. I liked it at the time because I thought he had an opportunity to really become the 2023 version of what Kaiser White was for Philadelphia last year. Came off a pretty good season in Chicago after coming off an injury-plagued season the year before that after leaving the Las Vegas Raiders. And in 2022, 116 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 1,000-plus snaps. Toward the end of the preseason, I thought he started to play some better football, but before that did struggle a little bit in coverage, and he got beat out at that off-ball linebacker spot by Zach Cunningham and Christian Elliss. What's interesting about the Eagles here is that they kept 3 off-ball linebackers on this roster in Nakobe Dean, Zach Cunningham, and Christian Elliss. Those are your traditional, off-ball linebackers. I know that Nolan Smith and Patrick Johnson, they did get some reps as off-ball linebackers, but they're more so one of those blitzing, stand-up defensive ends, a.k.a. an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme like Haason Reddick. So with Cunningham, Dean, and Elliss expected to man a lot of those snaps as your off-ball inside linebackers, now you have Nicholas Morrow coming in as a backup insurance policy that you can activate up to the 53 on game day, obviously, or you can keep him on that practice squad, and if an injury happens, then you can put Morrow on the roster as well. As for Tyre Phillips, the pedigree that I was talking about, the fact that he was a 2020 third-round pick by the Baltimore Ravens out of Mississippi State, he was signed to the Giants practice squad early last year with New York, 12 games, 5 starts, and does have some solid offensive line versatility in those 5 starts. 4 of those starts came at right tackle, 1 came at left tackle. He's played in 38 career total games, 20 starts everywhere along that offensive line outside of center. So right tackle, right guard, left tackle. Tyre Phillips is a player who can fill in pretty much everywhere at 4 of the 5 offensive line spots outside of center. And whenever you have a really good position coach, like the Eagles do have with Jeff Stoutland, best offensive line coach in the NFL, you get excited about a player who has this pedigree because clearly at Mississippi State, he played good enough to warrant him being a third-round pick, as well as the versatility. I get excited about some potential development that can take place for a player that's very affordable. If an injury does happen anywhere outside of center on that offensive line, you put him up to the 53-man roster as well. And why this also makes sense, offensive line versatility, always very, very important throughout the rigors of an NFL season. So who's with me? We're looking ahead to this Week 1 game against the New England Patriots. We have some injury news coming up here just around the corner. But if you think that the Eagles are going to smack the New England Patriots, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video right now. Still to come today, still to come this week. Latest Eagles injury news today, and then tomorrow, really cool story that I want to talk about on Jalen Carter from ESPN's Tim McManus about why Philadelphia drafted Jalen Carter and why they were confident in that pick, knowing that they had a couple of stable veterans in that locker room and some team captains that could help him really grow and mature in his NFL career. Things that I talked about in the pre-draft process for Philadelphia, which I had said, Howie Roseman, I think is going to trade up, take Jalen Carter because he knows there are leaders in this locker room that can get him on the right track. Exactly what I said came to fruition. Maybe Howie Roseman watches the show. Stay tuned for that. We'll talk about it on our live show tomorrow on Tuesday. Week 1 odds, Eagles, Patriots. You look at the line here. Birds are 3.5-point favorites as Tom Brady will get honored in Foxborough at Gillette Stadium. The over-under, 45. So kind of that tweener area between it being a defensive game and some points being scored. If you want to put some money down on this matchup, do it with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head to chatsports.com/EaglesBet. Promo code Eagles125 for a 125% deposit bonus. You put in $100, you get $125 back. $225 to game with. We use this at Chat Sports at our disposal over the weekend. Myself, a couple of homies went to Charlotte to watch UNC South Carolina, Drake May against Spencer Rattler, putting some money down on some college football games, and we got some money back on top of that deposit bonus because we won. What do you expect? Use that link in that promo code for that deal to apply. So some Eagles injury news here. Nolan Smith returned to practice on August 30th. So a few days ago, that's a really good sign. Getting some practices in the lead up to this game against the New England Patriots, continued to practice as well. So he's stringing together consistent practices, and that's a good sign in his recovery coming off that shoulder injury that he suffered in the second preseason game against the Cleveland Browns. By all accounts, by all reports, Nolan Smith is on track to play in the season opener against New England. He had missed like a couple of weeks there and 5 total practice sessions. And he got hurt on that play, on that reverse against the Browns, in which he kind of like did shed that block and was held a little bit and then got hit on that shoulder. That's the same shoulder that he got hurt with when he was playing at Georgia. So obviously that's a good sign for him that it's not all that serious. And then Haason Reddick. This update also came forward later last week that he's coming along nicely off that thumb surgery. He expects to play week 1 against the New England Patriots as well. And for Philadelphia, of the 70 sacks that they had last year as a team, Haason Reddick had 16 of those. That was good enough for him to finish 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. And when we project forward and look at this matchup against New England, it's not like the Patriots' offensive line is all that stout. In fact, I think Philadelphia, with the depth and the talent and the rotational pieces that they have at defensive line and outside linebacker, they really do have an opportunity to win this matchup and dominate this matchup in the trenches. They can harass Mac Jones. And if that's the case, it's going to be hard for New England to really move the football consistently if he's under siege and doesn't have time to throw. And I do believe that this Eagles offense, even though the starters did not play at all in the preseason, knock off the cobwebs, knock off that rust. You scored 21 to 24 points in this game against New England, and I think that's going to be good enough to win it because I don't envision, even though the Eagles had this new tailored defense with a new defensive coordinator and Sean Desai, I don't imagine them giving up 3 touchdowns or more against New England just because of the lack of firepower at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and overall on the offensive side of the football. Speaking of a live show, tomorrow we're going live on Eagles Now, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. This will be our schedule for this upcoming regular season. So this is why you subscribe, turn on those notifications, because when we do go live, you'll be notified. Of course, if any big moves happen, we go live as well. Go live for our watch parties on game days. But in addition to that, a scheduled live every Tuesday, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. Appreciate all of you for watching. Don't forget to hit that sub button and keep it locked here for more Eagles news.